So as a few of you might be aware, I did a video where I talked about a controversy surrounding the popular corporate cooking YouTube channel, Bon Appetit, and specifically the reveal of these kind of racist practices that had been going on behind the scenes that viewers were not really aware of. It began with the editor-in-chief, Adam Rappaport, who had been shown to have like a brown face Halloween costume some number of years ago. But then it came out that many of the employees at Bon Appetit, people of color on staff, were being underpaid, were being paid less than their white counterparts despite doing the same and sometimes even more work. So there was a big controversy surrounding that, mass quitting. People were just off. People were done with Bon Appetit, and I made a video on it in which I tried to underline the fact that, you know, this was a systemic problem, and I feel like it's wrong, as some people were trying to do, to paint this as, look, it's the big bad Adam Rappaport, and he was the problem at Bon Appetit. Adam Rappaport was a symptom of a broader problem of corporations trying to get the most money out of their employees, and as such, exploiting the fact that, you know, certain employees can often be underpaid, and then out of financial desperation or need, they will be willing to accept those lower wages. What Adam Rappaport did was essentially act as an arm of a system that allows employees to be exploited like this. And my prediction was that Bon Appetit would presumably rebrand, presumably give it like a few months, maybe start a new channel, and with a new channel and a new team, they would try to sort of just say, well, look, we have new people of color in, ignore these like deep systemic issues, and instead we're just going to have new diversity and representation. We're not going to necessarily deal with these fundamental issues. We're just going to kind of replace these people with new figureheads. So, with that in mind, yesterday, Bon Appetit started uploading videos again. Today we're going to watch those videos. I guess we'll start with the headliner, why we joined Bon Appetit. This is Condé Nast's opportunity to sort of acknowledge the mistakes that were made on a large public platform, and then we'll sort of just see where things go from there. So let us begin. Before we begin, for the record, I'm not going to put any level of fault on the people that were hired by Bon Appetit here. Obviously, these are just people that are like anyone else. You know, they see a career opportunity, and, you know, they probably see that they're doing like a positive thing. So please don't send any hate to these people specifically.
It goes this way?
Yep.
Take one?
If you could say take one and then clap it.
All right. Take one.
Action.
I'm very excited.
Here's my morning chai.
What's up, Sonia? How are you?
How's it going? Love your hat.
Thank you. Sonia, you're like the veteran of the bunch now. Like you've been with BA for what?
4 weeks.
5 weeks now?
Maybe 5, yeah.
Is that Dawn? Yes.
Hey, Don.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
What an exciting time also to join Condé and BA. It is a year where we'll all remember, obviously for the pandemic, but also, you know, America's having a big conversation right now in terms of identity and culture. I'm really, really excited to join BA, but also to work with you, Sonia, and to work with you, Dawn, and telling and sharing all the food stories out there that is happening right now.
There are certainly a lot of food stories happening right now. There is certainly a conversation that is happening. I would argue that maybe there's a specific conversation. Yeah, obviously, like, for the record, I know that they're framing this as like a very like, oh, we're just having a Zoom call and just chatting. This is so clearly addressing the Bon Appetit thing in a highly manicured way. Like, it's very uncomfortable. It's kind of like there's guns pointed at their heads as they're speaking right now. And that very possibly might be the case. That probably isn't the case. Please don't sue me.
Bon Appetit is our lunchbox, right? Like, the three of us and the teams that we're building, We didn't grow up with a very limited kind of mainstream understanding or this European mindset of food where the only thing on a menu is, you know, a poached salmon or a chicken or something like that. Like, we already have that global perspective. So bringing it to the content that we create is innate to us and is something that's just going to happen just because we're here.
So just to be clear, one of the controversies of Bon Appetit was that they were in fact doing the exact kind of thing that they're talking about, where they would often suppress stories involving like various like unfamiliar ethnic cuisines that would be unfamiliar to a more Western European or American audience, with like a kind of monetary mindset. You know, people aren't going to click on a video to find out a bunch of different ways to prepare some cuisine that they might not be familiar with. Whereas if you do like, you know, 50 ways to cook a steak, 50 ways to cook bacon, that's what people want. Bon Appetit was accused with receipts of suppressing stories from various writers, obviously mostly people of color, who were trying to put out those stories to the world.
I mean, the team at BA is so good. That's been my favorite part so far, is just getting to know everybody and getting to know how they work and kind of learning the systems. And I love kind of seeing what's not working and trying to build it back into something new. So I'm really excited to dive in with people, and that's been definitely the most exciting thing so far.
You know, we have to earn fans' respect and keep their respect and keep putting out high quality content that's fun, that has recipes that you want to make, that are accessible.
There you go.
There you
And
go.
Guess what, guys?
There you go.
I gotta finish the holiday issue, so I gotta run. I don't know about you guys. I can't sit here and talk with you guys all day. Can I go and do that?
Please hit your deadlines. Send me.
This is such a masterful display of talking about joining the conversation and not directly addressing the bullshit that was actually happening at the company that they are currently employed at. We have a remaining 1.5 minutes. Are they gonna directly address it? Are they gonna talk about the wage disparity? Are they gonna talk about what happened at the company? Let's see what happens.
One thing I've really been thinking about as a new leader on this team is how I can show the change that we're all really thinking about. And I'm curious to hear your perspective and how you're really thinking about building a new team and building kind of a 2021 plan for Bon Appetit.
Well, I want it to be a place that you can feel comfortable to ask uncomfortable questions and to have uncomfortable conversations. Like, food equity is a difficult, and food insecurity is a difficult question. To talk about the environment and how it affects not only the food supply, but, you know, the farmers and the fishermen who are kind of out there trying to make a living. Those are important conversations. So I want it to feel culturally relevant.
I just want to be absolutely clear, right? On the video end of Bon Appetit, the actual, like, the representation was not the issue. The issue was the fact that the representation did not reflect how the employees were actually being treated. You know, you often hear people talk about tokens or like woke pandering. And whenever most people talk about woke pandering, really what they're talking about is like they're mad because like a black person's in a thing and they don't feel like they should be or something, right? Like, oh, a comic book character is black now and whatever. That's woke pandering. A character is in this thing and, oh, this character's gay now. Oh, so is everyone just going to be gay? Bon Appetit already had diversity. That wasn't the issue with their video content. The issue with their video content was that behind the scenes, how those people were being treated. So this, saying like we need to, you know, show more people's stories on video and we need to, you know, expose people to different perspectives and we need to have like all these things, that isn't directly addressing the actual issue that people had with the company. I used corporate LARPing as my analogy in the video because that's what I was talking about. The presentation of acting in ways that reflect fairness and equality, and then behind the scenes, you know, being a corporatistic entity that will cut costs wherever they can, that will manicure their content in such a way that it appeals to monetary interests, right? because of the system that we're currently under. Not this specific individualistic, oh, we had a racist editor, and by getting rid of this racist editor, we can now just bring in, you know, new kinds of people. That isn't where the conversation began and ended there. In fact, that wasn't the issue in the first place.
We're all learning, and like we've been talking about, food is changing so quickly, and I think we need to remind our staffs and our audience too that we're all kind of in this together and we're growing together.
Bye, Sonia. We'll catch up at some point. Yeah, okay.
They're real friends.
This cake is cracking me up.
It's like 80 pounds.
It must be fondant, right? Are you gonna eat it?
Yeah, I'm gonna eat it.
That is frickin' wild.
I guess you could say that Bon Appetit wanted to have their cake. Okay, so there's two more videos. Chris makes meatballs. This is going to be our opportunity to see how Bon Appetit handles its current employees dealing with the fact that fucking everyone left because the company was racist.
The energy's been pretty good at home. I mean, the kids are just like, they're just there all the time. Like, they don't go anywhere. They don't go to school. They never leave.
The energy is just like off because we know what's happened. It's like there is a dead body on the floor and like they're trying to do the regular show, but there's like a dead body on the floor and they just don't want to say that it's there. So it's like just a fundamentally different vibe.
So, yeah, so right now I'm in Philadelphia where I recently moved just so we could have a little bit more room for everybody. It means a lot to be here right now because obviously we've taken a break from filming. And, you know, so much has been going on at Bon Appetit.
A lot has been going on.
Like stayed really quiet about a lot of things. There haven't really been any easy answers to a lot of the issues that we've had. I needed a meatball recipe that could be done incredibly quickly on a weeknight.
Now let's make some meatballs. So yeah, Chris was actually deeply involved in the hiring process and like directing things within the kitchen. So that was something that Solar had actually talked about in an interview. So Chris is very, very much a part of this broader system, but it's not really being played like that. It's kind of being played like, hey, racism sucks. But do you want to make some meatballs? Yeah, if you remember my analogy earlier, this is now like there's a dead body on the floor, and Chris was the one who stabbed them to death. Oh my god, this is so uncomfortable now.
Searing the meatballs off on the stovetop. In this version, we're going to do it in the
oven. Oh god.
We'll see if that's actually what happens. Watch it turn totally brown town. Delightfully imperfect balls here. High quality tomatoes are just key. So I like to kind of just
I'm gonna say, just like as a general notice to people, I know that I'm being a bit hypocritical by doing what I'm about to say you shouldn't do, but you probably shouldn't try to like hate watch these videos, because then they don't make you mad. They just make you just really uncomfortable. It's just deeply awkward because they're just trying to go for like the same. It's like trying to go for friendly, same energy after they just did a thing. Well, I don't want to skip the food stuff just because you don't know if they might acknowledge things.
This is what happens when you don't.
This is how you can learn how to make good meatballs in a not racist way. By just watching this stream and not clicking on the video itself.
It's not going to be all fun and like ASMR. Like, how sad is this? Who can live like this? You can just take the piece.
I do very deeply feel for people in the BA staff who are being kind of lumped in as like, you're a figurehead who needs to directly deal with these issues, even though in reality they're kind of, bit players in this broader network that the corporation is running under. That all these people are being lumped together under the colloquial we, right? Like, we need to deal with this. It's not like a matter of your behavior changing, like you just sort of being more tolerant. Like that's what I mean about them redirecting this to being a purely cultural issue. You know, it wasn't just about people not being nice enough. Like, it wasn't about Adam Rappaport doing brownface, right? That's not where that conversation ended. Adam Rappaport and Chris Morocco were symptoms of a broader problem at Bon Appetit, as I've been saying.
If you start to kind of turn one into the other, the rest of the meat will go in there. This is not making any sense. It's not making any sense. Like, what am I
It doesn't make any sense.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
So the rest of the meat can then go in.
Chris, it doesn't make sense.
Basically, the goal was to create a very homogeneous mixture.
Chris.
I'm even gonna like do a little extra drizzle of oil on these guys. You know, it just doesn't hurt raw basil. Like, you get that in there, you know, just from like those few sprigs.
See, okay, so people have been mentioning in the chat the lack of like background music. The thing is, Bon Appetit often had videos that were very more like naturalistic, like lo-fi, just kind of them hanging out in the kitchen. And that was fine before, because it was like, you know, you're just hanging out with Chris while he's in the kitchen cooking food. But now it's like, oh, we're just hanging out in the kitchen with a guy who supported a deeply racist, discriminatory system. The naturalistic vibe, I don't want that now. Now I need like heavy synth in the background.
I feel like we went a little bit over here. I could lie and be like, yeah, 165 on the dot, but we're actually at like 175, but that's cool. All right, so sauce.
A racist company, and they burnt the meatballs too. What are you good for, Condé Nast?
More flavorful, but kind of at the expense of your meatball. All right? It's like,
yeah, like something else to keep in mind as all this is happening, the crew behind the camera is also in all likelihood different, because they stood down in solidarity with the people on the Bon Appetit team. So an extra layer of incredibly fucking awkwardness.
But seriously though, this is what it's about for me. How do you connect with the people who are interacting with your recipes? To not be part of how we tell these stories in video, it's not an option for me, you know? We're committed to a different way of doing things moving forward, but to not be part of like that bigger picture, you know, for me, being in charge of the test kitchen, it's just like, it wouldn't make sense. Being back with some of the folks on the video production side means a lot to me. This is like part of how I want to continue to tell stories around food and talk about meatballs and go on like, you know.
What the fuck is he talking about? What were those words? I want to tell stories about, I want to be part of the conversation about meatballs.
This is like part of how I want to continue to tell stories around food and talk about meatballs and go on like, you know, 15-minute like long monologues about blender parm, because it's important, you know? So
Okay. So in the previous video, they talked about having a conversation and talking about who gets to tell stories about food. And they were clearly talking about the ways in which, you know, minorities, people of color, people who cook various ethnic cuisines outside of the American, European kind of hegemony, often get excluded, right? Again, like I was saying before, corporate reasons for it. Usually it's because the corporation's thinking, oh, well, people aren't going to want to watch a video about some weird food they don't even know about. They want to find out about how many ways they can cook bacon, you know? Chris has taken that language and put that into spaghetti and meatballs, and him wanting to be on the video to talk about spaghetti and meatballs. Or just meatballs, sorry. Not even the spaghetti. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those meatballs, chat.
cool.
So, I want to die.
My shirt's on backwards. We're just gonna pretend that's not a thing and tuck that right in.
Okay, so another problem with Bon Appetit, another thing we have to cancel them over, fucking audio levels, dude. The last video was way louder. Did they fire their
Hey guys, I'm CHRISSY Tracy.
audio processor too? Did they
mushrooms, collard greens, and cornbread. It's a good, comfortable pick.
Bon Appetit might be a symptom of a deeply discriminatory system, a system of capital that prevents true equality from ever really manifesting. But I think we can all agree that collard greens are really good.
And we're going to add about a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, about 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon salt. I'm terrible at measuring. I just keep shaking until my ancestors tell me. And we're going to give a nice crank of black pepper, and we'll stir that up real well.
On like
a nice golden
a
color
very reductive personal level, it bums me out just because I liked watching the Bon Appetit videos. Like, they gave me good vibes. Like, it gave me the feeling that it wanted to give me, which was this feeling of like, oh, I'm hanging out with these people while they're making some food. You learn some recipes. They all seem fairly nice. And like, it sucks just to watch these videos and be like, wow, I am just deeply uncomfortable in every possible way right now. Like, it's not... It's the thing where there's like a gun to people's heads. There's a thing that's right there, and they have acknowledged it to some respect already in this video, but it's just like that vibe's gone and it's never coming back. And in a way, it's a good thing that vibe's never coming back, because it reminds you of what was always the case. You know, all the shit with solar was always happening, and the aesthetic that Bon Appetit had manufactured for their videos of this nice, personable, inclusive group, that was always a thing that was like manufactured, because that's the way the corporations work. You know, a corporation isn't there to just be friends hanging out. A corporation is there to make money. And if they have certain employees that they can get away with paying less, if they have certain topics that they can just shove out of the way to maintain their bottom line, they're going to do that, because that's how corporations, especially large corporations, simply work. It's not them being like the big bad evil people. They're not the exception to the rule. They are a direct consequence of this system, right? This is the system working as it should. Pay the people who you can pay less, as little as you can, and only produce the content that you know will maximize your revenue. That's simply how the system works. So in a way, I'm glad that this vibe has just been completely fucking butchered, because it reminds you of something that was always there in the first place.
You have about a pound of collard greens?
Yeah, as people in chat are saying, it was never a lack of diversity that was the problem at Bon Appetit, on the video staff at least. The problem at Bon Appetit was always that behind the scenes, the way those people were actually treated. You know, it's like, when Trump talks about black unemployment, it's like, it's not just about whether or not people have a job. It's about how people are treated within those jobs, underemployment, things like that, right? At that point, you're just dealing with an aesthetic. You're not dealing with whether people's actual material conditions are being improved. You're just saying, well, if you look at this crowd of people, you can see a black person and a brown person and an Asian person, and isn't that nice? That is not what dealing with a systemic problem actually means.
Look at my African American over here.
I can say, pretty affirmedly now, at the very least, even though Chris was very much a part of the systemic injustices that were happening within Bon Appetit, please don't send hate at CHRISSY. I don't see any evidence to suggest that CHRISSY is, the one behind everything here. I think CHRISSY is just a person who got a job during a pandemic. Yeah, I did a video where I talked about. I think I could probably someone could link it in chat, I think. Or maybe I could just pull it up right now. Like, when it comes to food, this is something that's a relevant issue. The way that cultures can be pushed out by... I'll link to it in the chat here. I talk about the ways in which cultures can be subtly ousted, not only by the states, like literally putting kids from other cultures in schools to erase that part of their identity, but, push cuisines out through capitalistic practices, the various subtle ways that minority cultures can be extinguished in ways that might not be as obvious.
I was inspired to do this recipe because there was a chef on Instagram that had given a full kind of history lesson or overview of fried chicken. He made a comment about the fact that he knew so many black people that were afraid to eat fried chicken in their workplace. And so they would hide outside to eat it. And I actually personally know people that wouldn't eat their lunches in the workplace either, because they felt like, oh my God, I'm going to be judged for eating this fried chicken. And not because it's unhealthy, but because of the origins of it and the negative connotation that came with. Black women would make some money by, making some home goods like fried chicken and biscuits and selling watermelon by the train tracks of, the workers that were passing through their towns to try to make some money. So they found like an innovative way to kind of overcome the oppression that they were facing.
See, this is a really interesting thing here, and this is exactly what I was getting at with the Bon Appetit video. Like, these are actually conversations that should be had. Like, what she's saying is, like, a really necessary point to be made. The problem is that with the system we're currently under, the only way that you get a voice oftentimes to talk about these things, to really get that message out there, is through corporations, because they hold all of the social and financial power. To get a voice to talk about these issues of racism and injustice, you have to work alongside corporations that oftentimes are in the middle of exploiting people in the exact same ways. You know, you want to talk about injustices, and it's good to talk about injustices, and I'm glad that CHRISSY is using her platform here to talk about injustices. What sucks is that she's having to do it within a framework of a corporation giving her permission while that corporation does the shitty things that she's talking about. That is what I was trying to get out with the Bon Appetit video, and hopefully with this it comes across exactly how much of an issue this is. So, look, when I was making my Bon Appetit video, I talked about the ways in which, even though this is a big controversy right now in this moment of, oh my god, look how bad Condé Nast and Bon Appetit are as companies, you know, very quickly, you'll be shocked how quickly we get over it. You'll be shocked how quickly we will get over this whole controversy. And this is a good demonstration of exactly what I mean. So, okay, here is why we joined Bon Appetit, the newest video, the first video of the day when they started re-uploading new videos. As you can see, 4K likes, 23K dislikes. Clearly people were upset. I did scroll through the comments briefly and saw it's like every single comment is shitting on them hard. Okay? Now, go to Chris Makes Meatballs. Oh, that's weird. 16K likes, 4K dislikes. So now people are a little bit more, you know, a bit conflicted. Not a big fan of what's going on here, but, you know, I guess it's just a cooking video, really. CHRISSY makes fried oyster mushrooms. I would say a little bit more, like, on the dislikes to likes ratio. 8K likes, 4K dislikes. But as you can see, people are gonna move past this, right? And that is to be expected, because Bon Appetit isn't a company that's here to be progressive. They're a company that's here to give you fun food videos. This is what I mean when I say that Bon Appetit and Condé Nast are symptoms of a much bigger problem, in the same way that Adam Rappaport was only a symptom of the problems at Bon Appetit. Bon Appetit and Condé Nast are symptoms of a system that will always prioritize profit over any kind of social progress. If you want equality, if you want justice, you can't get it from corporations. Because corporations are here to make money. And that is what they will always do. And they will move past this particular controversy. The second they know that it's not going to hit their bottom line, they'll forget it ever happened. And then things will go right back to the way they were. Okay? So this does not end with this, and you shouldn't let it end with this, because if you actually care about this, if you really are upset about what happened with Sola, and Gabby, and Rick, and all the people at Bon Appetit, it has to go beyond just being mad at Bon Appetit. Bon Appetit is a symptom of a system, and I talked about that in my video, and I hope that in seeing the way that Condé Nast has tried to deal with this controversy here, it's become more apparent exactly what I mean when I say that. Okay. So when I was in the UK, I always said pasta. I would say pasta and tacos. Pasta and tacos. But now that I've been in the US for like 2 years, I always say tacos and pasta. I also say tomatoes. I say tomatoes. Tomatoes. I don't say tomatoes, really. I say tomatoes. Tomatoes. It's a hard one. The only thing that I can't change, I'll tell you what, I was talking about this on my Twitch thing the other day. One of the only words that I can't naturally change to the more American pronunciation, I say water. And oftentimes when I have a waiter, I'll say, yeah, can I get some water? Or I might even say water. And then they don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I have to say water. And that's the thing, I can't change the way I pronounce that word, because this is me saying it the American way. Could I get some water?
To encourage people to try going plant-based for like a month or something like that, and that's just so.
Is this a third ad?
This coffee smells great.
Well, that's because the
Plugger
new
is-
Keurig K-Soup.
Okay, it's one thing to make me watch Bon Appetit videos, it's quite another to make me watch James Corden. I see a lot of people in chat talking about how I should get adblock. You really think I should just use adblock and steal money from these companies that are providing me with this free content? For the record, I don't care if you do adblock on any of my videos. The thing that I always say is I get like $1 per 1,000 views or something. So the equivalent, if you just give me $1, go to my Patreon and like give me $1, and then that'll be, give me $1 per video. You've already given me like 1,000 times what you would if you were to watch 1,000 ads. So I don't give a fuck. Okay, that actually wasn't too bad as far as the segment goes. Did that make sense? I hope that was somewhat coherent. Again, I didn't use a script for this video, so yeah. So anyway, this is my opportunity to say this video was sponsored by